Let's start with Tim Banks. Are you hot or cold over the fact that Tennessee is going to re-sign him? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Will Webb from the Sports Channel.
Definitely hot. It's Tim Banks was Tennessee was like top 10 in everything this year. Are there things that I didn't understand or disagreed with? Yes. And I think sometimes there is no Skip Bayless like college people who cover college athletics. Like we put Skip Bayless to shame with the way that we overreact to a single situation. I didn't know why Tennessee ever went with a 3-down front. It literally never worked. The strength of your team was the defensive line. None of that made sense. So why did you go to it periodically? I don't know. So there are things you could point to and say, don't like that, Tim Banks. However, there's a reason Clemson and Penn State and Virginia Tech and all these other, in Miami, and all these other people were trying to get Tim Banks to take their job because he's super good at his job. There also is no one else that's on the market that can remotely give you what Tim Banks gave you. A lot of people listening right now or watching right now would say Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo's never coordinated a defense and called a defensive play in his career. So he was never the defensive coordinator. He was never the play caller with New England. So it doesn't mean he doesn't know football, but there's going to be a learning curve there. You keep the band together and you continue to grow things on the defensive side of the football. I think this is a very good move for Tennessee.
All right. Hot or cold, Mike Ekeler?
Okay, as a special teams coach, hot. As a linebackers coach, why do I need 2 linebackers coaches for 2 players, right? You're on a 4-2. In what realm of existence do I need William Inge coaching one linebacker, Mike Ekeler coaching another linebacker? None of that makes sense from an allocation of resources standpoint, but I think he does a very good job at special teams, so I'm hot on him sticking around in Knoxville.
Yeah, I get your point with the energy on that. Let's go to the last one, though, Will, which is hot or cold. Who else has a contract up? Willie Martinez.
Hot. I thought that was the best coach unit Tennessee had this year was in the secondary. You had players on the defensive line. You had depth on the defensive line. That dude took guys. Look at Jermon McCoy. I was a big fan of his at Oregon State. I had a weird thing when Jonathan Smith's Oregon State defense, watching them play 2 years ago. So I watched like 8 Oregon State games wire to wire just because of the effort they gave. So I was a big fan of his. So you had one guy who had played at a pretty high level, and the rest of those guys, and you made them an elite secondary last year. So I think tip of the cap to Willie Martinez. I also think this. Tennessee doesn't have dyed-in-the-wool recruiters on their roster right now as far as the coaching staff. They have a lot of coaches. They have a lot of guys that get along. They have a lot of culture guys. They don't have recruiters. Charlie Gardner does not recruit the way he used to. Or Charlie Gardner. Some of these other guys that used to recruit don't recruit like that anymore. Willie Martinez, from what I am told by a lot of people, is the literal only recruiter that Tennessee has on the coaching staff right now.
Okay, now, Tennessee, those are the guys that are on expiring contracts. We addressed those. But I want to address the offensive side of the ball, hot or cold, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. There's your best.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm completely cold on Tennessee's offensive coaching staff, as cold as Arnold Schwarzenegger in that terrible Batman movie. I just don't know that there's a lot of different voices. It feels like there's a lot of guys that are, I want to copy. I'm talking about Alec Abelin, Joey Halsley, maybe Kelsey Pope, that are kind of learning how to be coaches on the job. And I'm pretty cold on this offensive staff. You?
I think the staff as a whole, I'm pretty warm on. I would say trending towards hot. I think you need someone with some type of outside voice or with some type of outside experience. Yes. So you can't just keep promoting from within and get better. That's the one thing that I have a concern with. So I don't know that there's an individual coach that I'm like, that guy sucks. But they're probably. But I would look at it and say, because I don't blame the wide receivers coach for what's happened with the wide receivers. I think they've made they are no longer running to grass or to the open space. And I don't know why they're doing that, because this offense doesn't work otherwise. And they're doing these really long, drawn out, like they're almost running into traffic instead of attacking space. And none of that makes sense in this offense. So, but I think you need someone with an outside view who can say, what if we added this to it? What if we went from the pistol? There's one thing Jeff Levy did at Ole Miss that Heupel never did. And part of that is him growing up in the system with his father-in-law, Briles, versus Heupel, seeing what Levy knew from Briles and then moving into, and then taking that offense and making it go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Which is he ran a lot of crossing routes and he moved his wide receivers around. Heupel doesn't do that. So I think you need someone with some type of outside perspective that can add to the thing that you're doing, because otherwise you just stay in the same place and everybody else is going to grow. And that's what my concern is with Tennessee.
Interesting.
Well, sticking with staff for a minute, we talk about, I know you're hot on Martinez and Ekeler, but I want to ask you a question on this. We just talked about Lane Kiffin taking up so much of Ole Miss's budget. I know technically what schools pay coaches isn't the same what they pay players, but indirectly all NIL funds are the same, because what they can pay is less money that they can pull from boosters, and we get the whole shebang. With that in mind, are any position coaches really worth increasing pay for right now, this day and age in college football, if that could potentially hurt you trying to, or is it better off spending that money to just buy another player?
I look, at some point in time, we saw this, David, you are a NASCAR guy. You've been a NASCAR guy. We saw in NASCAR, they were paying drivers $35-40 million per year, and it had to go down to $10 or $12 million because that's what the market could bear. And they had overpaid them too large of a percentage the drivers had. So the drivers were making. We're going to see that in college coaching as well. There isn't a COO of any corporation that can make 8 to 11% of what that organization's entire revenue for a calendar year is. You can't survive with that. So it will trickle down to the position coaches. The problem is, you probably can do hey, we're going to promote from within on a better budget than you can bringing somebody else in. You're probably going to have to overpay them to get them from where they are right now, especially if they have options. So, but I think your point makes a lot of sense, Caleb. But the one thing is, how many guys are ready right now, right? Like that's the other side. And also with what players are making right now, I don't know that $450,000 barely gets you a 4-star recruit these days, much less trying to get a good player.
What I'm hearing, I don't think that gets you a 4-star guy.
Well, last year was $350. I was told it was $450. That was like the going rate for a low 4-star guy. If the elite guys were getting 5 to 6 last year, and I have not been told what that number was for this last cycle, but because I know Boo Carter made between 5 and 6 is what I was told, and everybody else was like, man, we all make the same money. We're making $350,000 a year, and then it went up this year. So it's I just don't know. I don't think position coaches are the place that you can save money necessarily to make that better. Coordinators, that's a different story. I think, but how many more players does that get you? Like if Tennessee decided, I'm not going to pay Tim Banks $1.8 million. I know that Tom Allen got $1.9 million to go to Clemson. I'm not going to pay him $1.8 million. He made $1.5 million last year. I'm going to go with a coordinator, only pay him $800,000. That means you get one good player. Like, how much better are you really going to be on one good player? Look, the Giants, look at Saquon Barkley this year. I'm a Giants fan. We had Saquon Barkley. He was just as good there as he is right now. The rest of the team was terrible, and we ended up going 2-15. So it's one player that I don't think, unless maybe even if it's a quarterback, doesn't change your roster that much. And I think that's the only value you could say when you come to assistant coaches.